What's going on, everybody? What is going on? It is Friday, August 16th, 2024, and we are back with another live stream here on the Torian Rain Reloaded. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to go ahead and hit that like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button if you are new to the channel. And if you are new to the channel, welcome. Hit the bell twice to be notified whenever I upload a new video or go live. Shout out to all of my members here on the channel. Shout out to everybody over on Patreon. And if you are on Patreon, you're getting a new video this evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so be on the lookout for that. Shout out to everybody in the Discord. Shout out to everybody on X, Instagram, and everyone who sends me stories. This is another Migrant Madness stream. I'm telling y'all, shout out to Tawana Cook. I don't know if she's in the chat yet or not, but she's single-handedly keeping this series alive because she's the one that be sending me all of these stories. And I have to split them up because I get sent so many. As a matter of fact, I think I got sent about a good 5 to 10 more before I even started the stream today, because it's so many stories, but those will just have to get pushed on to next week. And actually, these actually kind of serve dual purposes, because if it's a story that's dealing with the harming of kids, those definitely are going to end up on the Patreon for sure. As a matter of fact, it was 2 of them that I sent to myself that I had to take out of the lineup because it did deal with the harming of kids. But before we get into all of that, let me go ahead and acknowledge the people who are here so far. We have Todd Campbell, Firebat, Wallow J, Denise Scales, I Am Six, Dimpleface, J Cage, DJ, Dare to Win, Derry B, Zavon Scott, Till Dog Swell, Ronald Williams, Roku Muro, Key Prince, Late Not Last, Iron Will, Antoine Austin, Shrimp Steam B1, Dewani, Mark Stewart, and shout out to all of the lurkers, because I know I didn't read 68 names. But shout out to each and every one of you that is in here so far. And of course, you know, because it is Friday, gotta drop the drop. So today, this morning, well, this afternoon rather, I talked about the xenomorph alien, the face-hugging alien. And tonight, this evening, we will be discussing the illegal alien. It's just amazing how all of that just fell the way that it did. It just is what it is. So let's go ahead now and not waste any more time and get started with this edition of Migrant Madness. I think I only have 9 stories for y'all this evening. And before we get started, shout out to Denise for kicking off the super chats with the 5. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And shout out to Denzimus and Revolutionary 2 for just popping up in the chat. Denzimus, I'm still waiting to, like I said, I probably will keep the calling things out. Let me get my words right. I probably again won't drop the link or do that again until Freestyle Friday. I think I'm gonna keep it right there. Yeah, the last time that happened, yeah, I can't. I'm just gonna take the risk, and I'm gonna probably switch it up of how I drop the link. I'll let y'all know closer to around that time of how I'm gonna do the whole link thing going forward, instead of doing it the way that I used to. So let's go ahead and get started. So we have this story right here that's coming out of this place called Abbotsford, Wisconsin. Never heard of it. A story came out on July 30th, 2024. It says Abbotsford man charged in killing his 2 children, nearly killing his wife, ordered to undergo a competency exam. Now, see, this one could have easily gone under the Patreon, because again, it's dealing with the harm of the children, but I didn't catch the title until just now. A 29-year-old Abbotsford man charged with stabbing and killing his 2 children and injuring his wife will undergo a competency exam. Why? Y'all know he knows exactly what he did. Why does he need to get a competency exam? Online court records show Victor Manuel Gomez Acosta appeared via video in Clark County Circuit Court on Tuesday, where he was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of attempted first-degree murder. Gomez Acosta was removed during Tuesday's hearing after making continued comments during proceedings. A motion to seal the court records was also denied by the court. However, a competency examination was granted. The next hearing is scheduled for August 27th, following the competency report results. A defendant must be found competent for a criminal case to proceed. Investigators responded to a home on Oak Street in Abbotsford around 1:40 a.m. on July 5th. Officers arrived after a woman went to a nearby relative's to call 911, reporting that she had been stabbed. The woman said she was sleeping when the stabbing occurred. Court documents state Gomez Acosta was arrested around 2:30 a.m. at his home. Inside the home, officers found the bodies of two children. Both children had been stabbed multiple times and had no signs of life. The woman had 17 stab wounds requiring surgery. She is very lucky to be alive. Sorry, I'm reading what Denise wrote in the chat. She says suggestion touring if or when during Freestyle Fridays, you can ask by name who can come up on StreamYard. You mean like just ask who wants to come up, or just select someone, or just acknowledge who can't come up? I think you're talking more so the latter to what I just said, but elaborate for me in the chat, if you don't mind. Gomez Acosta also had stab wounds. Court documents state while standing outside of the squad car vehicle, he said sorry. He told officers crazy guy stabbed him. He also said a prayer and said his children were with God. Gomez remains in the Clark County jail on a $1 million cash bond, and that is his mugshot right there. Okay, I see what you mean. Okay, I see what you mean, Denise. I see what you mean. So there's his mugshot right there. And this is some other information from the police department as well. This is their official Facebook page. And that's it. That's the whole article right there. What I found about some of the articles that I did choose today is a lot of them are very short in length, kind of straight to the point. But yeah, that's absolutely insane. So this guy killed both his children and almost killed his wife. Said his wife was stabbed 17 times. She survived. And now he is currently locked up, but he doesn't need a bond. I always say there are certain crimes and criminality that you can commit that do not warrant a bond. This right here, in my opinion, is definitely one of those times for sure. Let's see what y'all talking about in the chat. Firebase says, but they say the rise of men love and take care of their families. Yeah, right. Yeah, like when people say that, they only go off of what they see on television. That's the thing. A lot of people gauge what they see from different communities and try to pit it against us based off what they see in a fantasy, I should say. And you know what's so crazy? I bet you if you lived amongst them, they probably say that I wish we were more like them. I'm willing to bet there are a lot of communities outside of ours that are probably wishing they could be like our community. Well, except for the anti-black ones, they already going to have their preconceived notions about us anyway. They had that for how many years, how many decades? Even when we weren't quote unquote ratchet or ghetto or embracing quote unquote thug culture, as they like to call it. They were saying the same things back then. So yeah. So there's that story right there. The next story I'm going to be talking about is this one right here coming out of Texas, because you know we can't have a migrant madness without there being a Texas story in the mix. No offense against those who live in Texas, but I'm just saying it's always a story out of Texas when it comes to these situations. So it says U.S. Marshals capture a Texas most wanted suspect in Round Rock. Jay the informant, I know you live in Texas. Have you ever heard of a place called Round Rock? But the story says that it is coming out of Austin, which I'm sure everyone in the chat is aware of. It says on Thursday, the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force arrested a 25-year-old Mexican national in Round Rock who was on the Texas Department of Public Safety's Texas 10 Most Wanted Criminal Immigrant list. Damn, this man made a list. He was on the Texas 10 Most Wanted Criminal Immigrant list. That just shows you how dangerous he is. I wonder where he ranked that on the list. Authorities arrested Fabian Toribio Martinez in Round Rock in the 1500 block of East Palm Valley near Lance Lane. He is being charged with aggravated SA of a child and possession of a controlled substance. So this is another one, y'all. Again, y'all are getting a tease of some of the stuff that I will be talking about on the Patreon, because again, another story I didn't know involved the harming of a child. Yet here we have one. An attorney has not been listed for Toribio Martinez as of Friday. When one is listed, KXAN will reach out to the attorney for comment. The Department of Homeland Security's Immigrant and Customs Enforcement, also known as ICE, said Toribio Martinez was previously convicted in 2018 and removed from the United States. And how in the world did he get back in? It's funny how they keep removing them from the States, but they found a way to slither their way back in. The U.S. Marshal said Toribio Martinez was known to hang around the Round Rock area and was believed to be armed and dangerous. Toribio Martinez was arrested at an apartment complex as of Friday. He is still in the Williamson County Jail. And that was at the beginning of the month. August 2nd is when this went out. So you're talking about 2 weeks ago. Iron said this is the guy who deleted 23 people. No, this is somebody else. They mentioned what he was charged with. It had nothing to do with that, but it was a crime nonetheless. Oh, Jay, you said you never heard of it, but they reported it from Austin. So my guess is I don't know if it's near Austin or maybe just an affiliate out of Austin is reporting this. So there's that. I wonder if there's going to be any more Texas stories. I think there's a couple of New York ones in here. I know there's some Chicago ones. I swear, Texas, New York, Chicago are the trinity for the Migrant Madness stories. You might get some from other places like the one I just did out of Wisconsin, but these three places right here stay in the news. What's going on, Damon? Now let's move on to this next one right here. Look, now this is a sad one right here. This is an unfortunate one. I can imagine y'all blood is going to be boiling with this one. Previously deported illegal immigrant known to cops allegedly killed VA or Virginia college student in a nightmare car crash. So now we are going to Virginia with this one. An illegal immigrant with numerous run-ins with the law who was ordered deported 6 years ago. 6 years ago, and he's still here. He never left. And now because he never left, now look at it. Now I want y'all to be aware of something, y'all. This was 6 years ago when he was ordered to be deported. I'm gonna say this, and I don't want anybody to be like to say anything like to say anything. I guess you can say smart alecky. Who was in office 6 years ago? Let's do the math. 6 years ago, that means it was 2018. Who was in office? I say that because a lot of people think that a lot of these migrants, or as they like to call, these immigrants just got here. A lot of them been here. If y'all remember, the last Migrant Madness video I did was about a man that committed a crime 20 years ago, and that was under the Bush administration, under his second term. And they just got him this year. It's just that the flood and the horde of them are happening under this administration. But trust and believe me, they were scattered around in multiple administrations before this current one. It says Honduran national Elvis Hamir Cruz Ferreira, age 18, is charged with involuntary manslaughter in connection with the February death of Old Dominion University student Lauren Nicole Leonard, age 19, according to the Virginia plot. So he was 18 when this happened. 6 years ago, he was a minor. He was 12. He was supposed to be deported when he was 12. Now, I don't know if he just turned 18 or he's about to turn, or he's 18 now and getting ready to turn 19. But either way, he was either 12 or 13 when he was supposed to be up out of here. It says she was definitely one of a kind, said Leonard's brother Eric Hargrove, age 31. A loving person, friendly, sociable, beautiful inside and out. Now, here's a picture of him right here. This is the culprit. This is the one that killed this young lady. The night Leonard was killed, she was driving her gray 2000 Toyota Solara on Interstate 664 in Chesapeake back to her apartment in Norfolk around 6 p.m. when Cruz Ferreira smashed into her, causing both drivers to lose control and hit the guardrails, according to the outlet. Leonard was killed immediately upon impact, and despite Cruz Ferreira's red 2008 Pontiac Bob overturning, he survived the crash and was treated at a local hospital for minor injuries. An immigration judge has ordered Cruz Ferreira deportation back in 2018 during a hearing he didn't appear for after he crossed the border illegally. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, aka ICE, said Cruz Ferreira has had several run-ins with the cops over traffic stops in the months leading up to the crash, according to the local outlet. However, authorities didn't investigate his immigration status at the time. Now, here's a picture of Lauren, a young lady that he unfortunately killed. Only 19. And this happened back in February of this year. RIP to her and condolences to her family and loved ones. And this is a picture right here of the crash. So this is her car right here. And this is his, because remember, they said his flipped over. And this is hers right here. And it's like crushed like a soda can. In November of last year, Cruz Ferreira was caught driving recklessly, going 85 in a 60. This man was driving 25 miles over the speed limit. And shout out to J. Joe 4040 for the $1.49. I appreciate it.
You ain't got to be a dope boy to have money.
He was also twice cited for driving without a license. Hargrove said his sister might still be alive if Cruz Ferreira had been deported. I listen, I'm right there with the sister. I think it's crazy, Hargrove said, like, how come nobody looked into it? She's minding her own business and you come out of nowhere and just turned my life upside down. I don't want to say anything that sounds like far right or far left, he said, but I would just say that it's a possibility that this wouldn't have happened if the deportation happened when it was supposed to. Cruz Ferreira has an immigration hold on his case and is being held without bond. He faces up to 10 years in prison. He should face more than that. Cruz Ferreira crossed the southern border into McAllen, Texas in October 2016 when he was 11 years old. After being processed by border agents, he was transferred to an ICE facility in San Antonio, where he was briefly held before being given a court date and released. For the last 4 years, Cruz Ferreira had been living in the Virginia area with his mom and siblings and completed school up to the 11th grade. He also worked at a local Wendy's for a month before the crash. Hours before Leonard was killed, she was texting her family about the job she just landed to conduct new student orientation on campus. She had the personality for it, and it would have been good. Wow. Aisha, you said that's close to you. Did you hear about that? Aisha, did you hear about this story before I brought it up, or is this new to you? I always like to ask people who live relatively close to wherever I pull these stories from or wherever I get these stories from to see if mainstream media actually put it out there or if they did it. Because this was reported on August the 4th, 2 weeks ago. Aisha says she did it. I'm not surprised. But RIP to this young lady. Condolences to her family and her loved ones. As far as the culprit, they need to throw him. Throw him somewhere. I'll just leave it like that. All right, let's now move on to the next story. This one, where is this one coming out of? New York. What did I tell you? I knew New York was going to be in there somewhere. Two men accused of being in the U.S. illegally arrested in Rensselaer on several charges. Let's see what they're talking about on here. Two men accused of being in the U.S. illegally were taken into custody by Rensselaer police after authorities said one of them had an outstanding charge and they were reportedly found with stolen property. According to a release, police received a call Tuesday at approximately 9:37 a.m. for a report that two men were carrying weed whackers, backpacks, and a suitcase going into yards and knocking on residents' doors. This was in the area of 3rd Avenue and High Street. I'm trying to figure out, when they decided they're going to steal some stuff, why do they carry stuff that's so obviously visible? What in the world were you doing walking around with a stolen weed whacker? I'm like, do you know how big a weed whacker is? Now, it's one thing you can say with the suitcase and the suitcase and the backpack, because some people might not think too much of it, but a stolen weed whacker. Officers said they made contact with the two men in the area of 146 3rd Avenue. One of the subjects, Carlos Omar Garcia Hernandez, age 32, was reportedly found to have an outstanding warrant for felony drug possession out of New Mexico. Police said further investigation revealed that Garcia Hernandez and the second subject, Jimmy Mauricio Quilumba, age 24, were in possession of stolen property taken from at least 3 separate locations. According to a release, Quilumba had an identification card issued out of New York City and a passport in his possession. Authorities said Garcia Hernandez had tickets with him for an Amtrak train traveling from New York City to Portland, Oregon. Rensselaer police said that Garcia Hernandez was fingerprinted, which confirmed his identity. Authorities said the Department of Homeland Security, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, also known as ICE, then contacted local police, and 2 deportation officers from enforcement and removal operations responded. Authorities said that both men were found to be in the country illegally, Garcia Hernandez from Mexico and Quilumba from Ecuador. They were both charged with several crimes, including burglary, grand larceny, conspiracy, and criminal possession of stolen property. Both men were arraigned in Rensselaer City Court and remanded to the Rensselaer County Jail. According to a release, further court appearances are scheduled for August 7th, which of course already passed. Authorities also said that immigration detainers were issued for both men. But just like where is it at? Dare the Wind said stupid is cultural. I'm still stuck on the fact that they tried to get away and rob, a weed whacker. I'm like, if you know what a weed whacker looks like, I don't know how far they thought they was going to get with that. Damon Reed says, heck, they have a lot of, if you notice, a lot of them have multiple names. Like some be having 4 and 5 names. And then if it's hyphenated, then that's considered one last name or maybe one first name. So if they have a hyphenated name, 9 times out of 10, they probably got 4 names. Democrat says they won't do anything to them, but they will give a black woman years over chicken wings. Now that's messed up. They gave that woman 9 years. But shout out to that football player, I forgot what his name is, who put up like a $1.5 million or something, or $1.5 million or something like that to put money on her books so she can get out. 9 years for that. Meanwhile, you look at people like this, or the stories I've told or talked about, or the one dealing with January 6th, in the little bit time that they've gotten compared to what she got. Mr. Toxic Black said it was Chris Jones. Okay, thank you for informing me of his name. And good point, Dimpleface and Brett is still free. And what Chris Jones did, that was very on code. And that's why I hate when I hear, unfortunately, other black people say we don't look out for each other. Meanwhile, you had this man put up like $1.3 million to put money on this woman's book so she can get out. And also, just last week when I was talking about the whole Jordan Childs medal situation, you had Flavor Flav create a bronze clock to give to her. So when black people be saying, "Oh, black people don't care about each other," I'd be like, "That is a lie." I don't know who you get your news from, but it sounds like it's coming from the shade room. So there's that story right there. Let's go ahead now and head on to this next story that is coming out of, it says Troy. I'm not sure exactly where that is, but maybe they'll tell us in the article. It says Troy homeowner calls 911 after seeing intruder on camera, leading to arrest of suspects likely tied to international crime ring. So these are the 5 suspects right here. A group of 5 suspects are behind bars in connection with a home invasion in Troy after the homeowner spotted an intruder on their security camera. Just before 1 p.m. on Thursday, August the 1st, the homeowner of a home in Millay Drive near Rochester, so that's New York, so that answers that, in Big Beaver Roads called police to report they were at work and they were watching an interior camera and saw an unknown person inside of their home. Officials said the suspect seen inside the home, described as a man wearing a dark shirt and a mask, had turned their interior camera towards a wall so he wouldn't be seen. Authorities ultimately determined there were multiple suspects involved. The suspects, all arrested after trying to flee police on Thursday, were arraigned over the weekend and are each being held on a $1 million bond. Troy Police Sergeant Ben Hancock told WWJ's Ryan Recker, "There's definitely a possibility they're connected to other crimes, but authorities are still investigating." Troy police officials said in a press release Monday the suspects are likely connected to an international crime ring that has been targeting homes in the area dating back to last year. Officers quickly responded to the home and saw one suspect, 25-year-old Owen Jean Cortez, running away from the home through the Pro Car Wash parking lot. As officers began chasing him west across Rochester Road, he jumped a cement wall behind a business. He was eventually taken into custody near Hidden Ridge Drive and Colebrook Avenue. Other officers saw a second suspect, 39-year-old Michelle Leandro Alba Ricon, walking slowly on the sidewalk and recording the foot chase. He was then seen walking into Noni's restaurant where he was taken into custody. A third suspect, 48-year-old Omar Giovanni Rodriguez Aponte, was seen getting into a Honda Odyssey with a Virginia license plate. When officers pulled that car over, they arrested Rodriguez Aponte along with the driver, 43-year-old Alberto Franco Jimenez, and another passenger, 27-year-old Giovanni Enrique Castellanos Ferrero. All 5 suspects were arraigned on charges of second-degree home invasion, while Cortez is facing an additional charge of possession of burglary tools, and Franco Jimenez an additional charge of driving with a suspended or revoked license. Hancock said the homeowner was very fortunate they had a camera inside their home, saying such cameras are very helpful in helping police with these types of investigations. We commend our road patrol officers, detectives, and special investigation units on a tremendous collaborative effort resulting in the arrest of 5 suspects who are likely connected to an international crime ring. Troy police officials said in a release, officials have not disclosed the suspect's next court date. So there you have this right here. And yes, this definitely is upstate New York for sure. When I hear Rochester, my mind immediately goes directly to upstate. Anthony said these migrants are wild and out here. Oh yes. Like I said before, I don't know if you was in here when I said it, but New York, Chicago, and Texas, those 3 right there. I guess you could just say Illinois. Just say Illinois. New York, Illinois, and Texas. Those 3 right there are the trinity for these migrant madness stories, because a lot of them come out of Chicago. As a matter of fact, 2 of the stories I know for sure are coming out of Chicago. Dimple Face said the 5 deadbeats. I like how you put that. But I'm glad they caught him, and thankfully the homeowner had a camera inside, because you just never know. And let that be a lesson to everybody. It's fine if you have cameras installed on the outside of your home because you want to see what's going on in your exterior. But you also want to have cameras, if you can, installed inside of your home, because you just never know what can happen, especially if you're not home. All right, so now let's move on to the next story, and now we are headed to Chicago. Migrant mugged 80-year-old Bridgeport woman, prosecutors say, and a judge released him the next day. Are we surprised? I wonder if it's that same judge we keep talking about every time we talk about something going on in Chicago with these south of the Borderians. I wonder if it's that same judge. I can't think of the name. It's a wild sounding name, but if I see it, I'll know it's them. And this is the guy right here. The guy looks like he's melting. A Venezuelan migrant mugged an 80-year-old Bridgeport woman only to get chased down and detained by two Samaritans, officials said. But even though he is charged with robbing a senior citizen, prosecutors then asked the judge to keep him in custody. A Chicago police report said the woman was in the 3000 block of South Wentworth, about a block from her home, when a man rode up to her on a bike around 8 a.m. Friday, August 2nd. She would later tell the police that the man got off of his bike, wrestled away her purse, and stole the hat off the top of her head. Then he got back on the bike and pedaled away. But two suburban men saw the robbery go down, and they chased the assailant, according to the report. The men, ages 43 and 42, detained Elio Redondo Ragas in the 3700 block of the South Dearborn and kept him there until police arrived. Officers arrested Ragas after the victim confirmed he was the robber, according to the report. Prosecutors charged him with robbery of a victim older than 60, but they did not ask Judge Caroline Glennon Goodman to detain him pending trial. Court records show Glennon Goodman sent him home after ordering him to stay away from the victim and witnesses and to show up for court. So this is a different judge. I think they're all on the same timeline because this is a different judge. They should be doing the same thing. Let me read that again. They said court records show Glennon Goodman sent him home after ordering him to stay away from the victim and witnesses and show up for court. So you sent him home. They didn't even put a monitoring device on him. They just sent him home. According to court records, Ragas failed to show up to court in another case filed against him last October. Why am I not surprised by that either? Cops arrested Ragas in the 7100 block of Northridge after a 65-year-old man reported that he broke two front windows of his home, entered the house, and stole food and beer, according to a CPD report. So now we see it's a pattern. This guy's primary target are the elderly. This is from the one last year. And then this guy is 65, and the woman he went after recently is 80. So he definitely goes after, I guess you could say, the AARP members. The report said police did not seek felony charges because the victim told them he was content with misdemeanors. I would not have been. Ragas went home from the police station with instructions to show up for court on October 23rd. According to court files, he didn't make it, but prosecutors dropped the entire case. Anyway, even though he was not there. Now, you know, if that was one of us, they would have came to our home and dragged us up out of there. They would have sent a bounty hunter after us so fast and had us in those vice strips and in the car and hauled us to court. I mean, talk about rolling out the red carpet. Everyday people says that's a sundown neighborhood. Interesting. I wonder if I talked about that in my sundown series. It sounds familiar. Thank you, Denise. I don't know why I said strip ties, zip ties. I always never could think. I can never remember what it's called, but I will always call it the clear cuffs, the plastic cuffs, the ones you can't get out of unless they cut. Yeah. Next story, y'all. Where is this one coming out of? It doesn't say yet, but we'll find out. Listen to this one, y'all. ICE arrests 50 illegal migrants in one day on felony charges. They said the agency nabbed illegals accused of, I'm going to say CSA, fraud, and murder, among other offenses. Immigration and Customs Enforcement obtained and executed 50 criminal arrest warrants for illegals accused of felonies on July 23rd, the agency said Thursday. Now, of course, this is not all in one location. This is spread out amongst the establishment. The warrants are related to ISIS Title VIII authority over non-citizens who threaten public safety and have previously been removed from the United States. The arrestees included a 43-year-old citizen of Honduras in Houston, look, there's Texas again, convicted of felony continuous SA of a child. The individual is being charged in the Southern District of Texas for illegal re-entry after deportation. A 38-year-old citizen of Honduras in Houston, convicted of felony SA of a child. The individual faces charges in the Southern District of Texas for illegal re-entry after deportation. A 51-year-old citizen of Honduras in Forney, Texas, convicted of attempted first-degree felony murder and assault causing bodily injury. The individual faces charges in the Northern District of Texas for illegal re-entry after deportation. A 36-year-old citizen of Mexico in Trussville, Alabama, convicted of felony possession of a fraud document, misdemeanor indecent exposure, and misdemeanor pistol carrying without a license. The individual faces charges in the Northern District of Alabama for illegal re-entry after deportation. A 30-year-old citizen of Mexico in Grant, New Mexico, convicted of felony shooting at or from a motor vehicle, felony aggravated battery, and felony great bodily harm by vehicle. The individual is charged in the District of New Mexico for illegal re-entry after deportation. ICE reported that in fiscal 2023, having arrested 73,822 non-citizens with criminal histories. Did y'all hear that? 73,822 non-citizens with criminal histories. The arrestees reportedly had 290,178 associated charges and convictions with an average of 4 per individual. Offenses included 33,209 assaults, 4,390 sex and SAs, 7,520 weapons offenses, 1,713 charges or convictions for homicide, and 1,655 kidnapping offenses, and that has been reported by ICE. That is insanity defined times 10. This article was posted on August the 8th, by the way, in case anybody wanted to know. And if you notice, most of them came out of Texas. But the fact that they arrested 50 illegals in one day is wild. PD remains as the Biden-Harris illegals. Brother man said that we saw a lot of people into this country, and yet government not trying to help American citizens is insane and just wrong. Denise says, Kamala Harris 304. Denise says, and they say crime is going down on mainstream lying media. That's what they say. Now we are headed back to Chicago. Migrant accused of shooting another migrant. We got mom. That's what we're going to call it. That's going to be the acronym mom. Another outside the shelter gets 4 years. And this is him right here. His name is Kleber Fernandez. A Venezuelan man accused of shooting another migrant outside of Chicago's largest shelter has reached a plea deal. Kleber Fernandez, age 26, and that is a haggard 26, pleaded guilty to aggravated discharge of a firearm toward an occupied vehicle in exchange for a 4-year prison sentence. Prosecutors dropped 4 other felonies, including 3 counts of attempted murder. Operation Protect the SOB strikes yet again. Prosecutors claim that Fernandez and another man who lived at the Wadsworth Shelter, 6420 South University, had argued and became embroiled in a physical altercation on the morning of November 17, 2023. That evening, they crossed paths and argued again inside a park near the facility. Fernandez pulled out a pistol during the second encounter and fired 2 shots, striking the victim once in the abdomen, prosecutors claimed during our detention hearing 2 days later. Chicago police officers in the area heard the gunshots, as did a ShotSpotter gunfire detection device, which directed cops to a specific location where 2 shell casings were found. Witnesses provided description of the shooter, and cops spotted Fernandez in the area shortly after 8 p.m. He allegedly stripped off his blue sweater and ran away as cops moved in. The police caught him and placed him into custody after a witness identified him as the shooter. Prosecutors said the victim identified Fernandez in a photo lineup. Fernandez will receive 258 days of credit towards his prison sentence. His anticipated parole date is not yet available because he only arrived at the Statesville Correctional Facility 3 days ago. Judge Ursula Walowski oversaw the case and sentenced Fernandez. Brotherman said, who is supplying the weapons, or how are they getting them with so much bad records and criminal records? Oh, I'm sure they have their methods. I'm sure they have their methods. We know that they're not getting them legally. We know that's for sure. Dwayne says, I'm not sure how true it is, but they're saying Kamala is leading. Listen, I already told people over and over again, I'm so over this election cycle. One says, prison sentence. Why should we have to pay to house these scumbags? Take the expenses to jail them out of Biden and Kamala Harris salaries. Now, you know they're not going to do that. In a just society, none of this, which is going on right now, would be going on. There's always a method to the madness. This is just the beginning, y'all. We haven't even gotten to the climax yet. Brotherman says, right now, Kamala is up or winning since Trump and others are shooting themselves in the foot and making it worse. You know, that's a good point that you made. A lot of people may not want to hear this, but I kept telling people over and over again. I said the people around 45 are the ones that's going to ruin the election for him. Now, if it came down to it and he didn't have those people around him, his numbers will be higher, even with the rhetoric that he spews. But the thing is, because of the people that's around him, even with J.D. Vance, that made that environment even more toxic. See, it's gotten to the point where now all Kamala has to do is not say anything to poke the bear, so to speak. Granted, we definitely have issues with her. But as a collective, the majority beyond us who don't have an issue with her, like I said, if she doesn't poke the bear or piss off the wrong people, she will probably coast her way in. I told people, if 45 loses this election, it's going to be because of the inhabitants of Magaville. That right there, and probably some other things, are the Achilles heel to his whole campaign. But just like Derry said, she said sofa, but we know what you mean, but sofa will do too. The couch 2024, hashtag it. Now let's move on to the last article. This is the last article of the evening. And we're back in New York. Denise says we are done if that woman gets elected. Well, you gotta, hey, blame MAGA. That's them. I keep telling people it's his supporters that no one wants to deal with because they remember having to deal with them from 2016 to 2020. If the people over there would just be quiet, which they can't, it would be slightly easier for him. But let's get through this last one. NYC migrants, including one charge in SA 4 months ago, violated woman at knife point and beat her boyfriend. Two migrants were arrested for a knife point violation in Coney Island, including one who was released from jail less than 2 months ago after violating a different woman at a city-funded shelter, authorities said. Daniel Devon Vanilla, age 24 of Nicaragua, allegedly grabbed a 46-year-old woman and threw her to the ground before violating her while holding a knife to her throat. Sunday around 8:45 a.m. under the Regalman Boardwalk. His alleged accomplice, identified as Mexican migrant Leah Vondo Moreno, age 37, is accused of striking the woman's 34-year-old boyfriend with a pipe when he tried to stop the vicious assault. And it wasn't, you know what this guy looks like, y'all? He looks like Jeeves off of Men in Black. It wasn't the first sex crime bust for Devon Vanilla, who is believed to have crossed the U.S. border illegally in Texas in December 2022. 4 months later, he was arrested for allegedly violating a woman at the La Quinta Hotel on 3rd Avenue in Gowanus that was turned into a migrant shelter. He spent about a year behind bars before taking a plea deal that put him back on the streets in June, according to corrections officials and Brooklyn prosecutors. The horrific Sunday attack took place near Surf Avenue and West 16th Street. A poorly lit walkway leads to a space under the boardwalk that locals said vagrant camps out in, and which was littered with drug paraphernalia and cans of White Claw Monday. Sources said the victim, who told cops that she had been living under the boardwalk with her boyfriend for 2 weeks, was approached by Devon Vanilla while she was alone. He offered her trinkets in exchange for sex, and when she refused, he attacked her, choking her and holding her down while he violated her. The woman's boyfriend arrived during the assault and scuffle with Devon Vanilla, but was then blindsided from behind by Moreno. Devon Vanilla was charged with first-degree violation, second-degree assault, first-degree sexual abuse, menacing, and criminal possession of a weapon. He pleaded not guilty to the charges during a late-night arraignment in Brooklyn Criminal Court late Monday. He was held without bail and is scheduled to return to court Friday, which, of course, has already occurred, unless they're talking about this Friday. I think that would have been today then. U.S. Department of Homeland Security sources said Devon Vanilla entered the country illegally through Eagle Pass, Texas on December 7, 2022, and was found by border agents sneaking through the thick brush. He was taken into Border Patrol custody and told agents at the time he was going to live in Miami, giving them the address of a homeless shelter. Devon Vanilla appears to have eventually moved to New York City, with sources saying he lived at the La Quinta, where he was accused of violating a 34-year-old woman on April 3rd, 2023, pulling her hair and holding her down as he attacked her. He was charged with criminal sexual act, unlawful imprisonment as a hate crime, sexual misconduct, and sexual abuse. The Brooklyn District Attorney's Office said it struck a deal with Devon Vanilla that granted him credit for time served behind bars in exchange for a guilty plea to assault in the second degree, as the victim did not want to testify. She probably didn't want to be in the same room as the individuals, which I completely understand. City Department of Correction officials said Devon Vanilla was locked up on Rikers Island from April 4th, 2023 until June 24th, putting him back on the streets less than 2 months before Sunday's violation. After he spent over a year in jail and following the victim's request not to testify in any court proceedings, this defendant was offered a plea of time served in court-managed programming. A spokesman for Brooklyn DA Eric Gonzalez said Monday, Devon Vanilla, who has no known address, now faces up to, the key words there are up to. That doesn't mean he's going to get 7 years in the earlier case for violating the terms of the deal. It was not clear why Devon Vanilla was allowed to remain in the U.S. after he was released from jail in June? You know, that's a question that many of us have been asking when a lot of them commit these levels of criminality. Why are they still allowed to be here? U.S. immigration officials did not respond to a request for comment Monday. Sources laid the blame on New York's sanctuary policy, saying they hamper U.S. immigration and customs enforcement from deporting dangerous criminals. At this point, why even have ICE? At this point, why even have ICE? Because they can't really function the way they want to. All they can do is just detain them briefly, and then boom, they can let them go. It's if you're in a sanctuary city. Sanctuary cities and states typically refuse to hold illegal migrants charged with crimes for federal immigration authorities to take them into custody and start deportation proceedings. When sanctuary cities and states don't share immigration information or work well with ICE, ICE never gets an opportunity to actually do their job and remove the subjects with criminal history while being here illegally. Another DHS source pointed to the Biden administration's limiting priorities for immigration enforcement and sanctuary cities not cooperating with ICE as the reason for this latest crime. I have child violators that I can't arrest because they're not a priority, said the source. Moreno, who is homeless, was arraigned on charges of second-degree assault and criminal possession of a weapon for the Sunday attack at Brooklyn Criminal Court Monday night. He pleaded not guilty and was held on $20,000 cash bail. His lawyer claimed he didn't know Devon Bonilla. He said he heard the woman's screams, ran over and saw Devon Bonilla and the victim's boyfriend fighting and tried to break up the fight with the pipe he allegedly swung. We expect to do a thorough investigation, his attorney, Jazz Schwitzman, told reporters outside the courtroom, but he didn't assist in any kind of SA. There was a fight between two people. He went to break up the fight. He didn't know what was going on. He heard screams and he broke them up. Moreno is due back in court on Friday as well. It is not clear when Moreno entered the country. Sources say he was being sought on a warrant for public lewdness in Seaside Heights, New Jersey, stemming from an August 16, 2022 incident. The victim in Sunday's attack was taken into Coney Island Hospital, where she was listed in stable condition. Her boyfriend refused medical attention at the scene. I probably would have gone and had that medical attention done because he got hit in the head with a pipe. So I would have definitely took that medical attention right then and there, you know, because he might have had a concussion. It's really sketchy, a Parks Department worker said about that area of the boardwalk. You do not want to walk down that alley at night. Hell no. The area is popular with vagrants because there are two public bathrooms conveniently nearby. There is not a lot of spots to get underneath that boardwalk, but any single one that's opened up, they get in there, he said. If they get under there, they're living under there. The Coney Island boardwalk is one of several spots across the Big Apple where migrants who have flooded into the 5 boroughs in recent years have set up shop. Many, including those booted from city-funded shelters, have joined the ranks of Gotham's homeless. It smells like pee, and there are homeless men smoking drugs, said mom Nicole Sedova, who was pushing her 11-month-old daughter in a stroller along the boardwalk on Monday afternoon. Dangerous people, she said, is like a trap. Once you start walking down there, there's no way to escape. So there you have that story right there. Yeah, y'all see now why I do these migrant madness streams every other week. That way people who live in these cities can be aware of what's going on. Because like I asked somebody earlier, when something happened in the city near where they live at, they didn't know what was going on near their city until I brought this up right today. Weatherman says, don't walk alone and have someone with you. Oh, definitely. I am a endorser of traveling in packs because you just never know. Especially if you are a woman or a child, you do not need to be out there, or an elderly person, you do not need to be out there by yourself. It is nothing wrong with traveling in a group because they'll think twice. They yearn for wanting to go after people who are by themselves. They yearn for it. But anyway, y'all, that was my last migrant madness story of the day. We'll be doing this again in about 2 weeks, most likely. But shout out to everybody that came through. Shout out to Denise and J Joe 4040 for the contribution. I greatly appreciate it. I don't know if I got any cash ups because I didn't check it, but if I did, shout out to all of those who sent me those as well. Tomorrow, I'm gonna be kind of wrapping up the rest of any Olympic-based stories that I have, and I have two. Well, one of them is going to be a pre-record about the Olympic runner Quincy Hall. It has nothing it's to do with him, but more so was somebody said about him that rubbed me and many Black Americans the wrong way. And then also tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern time, I will be doing a live talking about that ray gun chick out there in Australia making a mockery of breaking. I'll finally be talking about that. I've been gathering some articles and stuff to talk about with her, and it's like more stuff keep coming out. But that will be tomorrow. So be sure to be here at 12 p.m. Eastern time for the video on Quincy Hall. And then at 4 p.m. for the live on that alleged breaker or whatever. I can't even get the image out of my head. But shout out to everybody that came through. Again, if you are on Patreon, the 8 p.m. drop will be going down in about an hour, so be on the lookout for that. Also tomorrow, for those on Patreon at 12 p.m., y'all are going to find out what the True Crime Sunday topic is going to be. And then on Sunday at 11:30, I'll do the pre-show, and that's when everyone on here will find out what it is. But with that being said, y'all enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a safe weekend. Be safe and be one.